There are 7.8 billion people in the world. We share much in common, but we also know that we are individually unique. There have been many attempts in history to describe this uniqueness, and the Greeks theorized that there are four fundamental personality types. They are sanguine, melancholic, phlegmatic, and choleric. Folks who are sanguine tend to be highly talkative, enthusiastic, active, and social. Melancholic people are introverted, analytical, detail-oriented, and they're deep thinkers and feelers. Phlegmatic people are relaxed, peaceful, quiet, easygoing. They really tend to be sympathetic, and they care about other people, and yet they often try and hide their emotions. And then choleric people tend to be extroverted. They're described as independent, decisive, goal-oriented, and ambitious. And the way the Greeks typically looked at it was there were usually one or two primary temperaments, two of the four that I just described, that are displayed in an individual at a significantly higher level. But most individuals have aspects of their personality which identify with each of the four temperaments. The construction industry has more than 680,000 employers in the United States alone. All of those companies have much in common. They all bid work, they all plan work, they build, and then they run around and try and get paid for the work, right? Yet just like individuals, companies have unique personalities. In this episode of Construction Genius, I will explore how to discover and clarify your company's unique personality. Then how to use that personality as a competitive advantage. And the best companies really do that very well. And then how personality works together with purpose to provide a solid foundation and drive your company's success. This is part 2 of a 4-part series exploring the triangle one-page planning process that you can use like a compass to guide you towards your business goals. So in the first part of the 4-part series, which was episode 77 of Construction Genius, we covered how to define your business purpose. This part will be about defining your personality. And then part 3 and 4 will cover your plan and then your priority. And those 4 aspects, purpose, personality, plan, and priority, make up the triangle one-page plan. The best companies understand and use their personality to build their processes and procedures, determine who they hire and develop and retain, find and service their ideal clients, and set themselves apart from the competition. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. By way of introduction, I'd like to just define what I mean by personality and then make a distinction, which I think is vital, between values and personality. So what do we mean by personality? Personality is a characteristic way of thinking and then behaving. Personality is most clearly expressed in interactions with others. It includes behavioral characteristics that distinguish one company from another. Let me talk about the difference between values and personality. And the reason I'm making this distinction is because many of us are familiar with this idea of thinking about the values that drive your company. And I would like to say that this thought of personality is something deeper and more unique and more specific to you. So when I think about values, I think of that as table stakes. These are the principles and standards of behavior that you must display to even be in business. So table stakes in construction are things like safety, quality, integrity, customer service, teamwork, innovation. Almost every construction company I know has these values, these principles or standards of behavior in one form or another. These are just the basics that you have to do. And the problem is with many people when they're having this discussion about values, or like I'm calling it, distinguishing this idea of personality, they're way too generic and they don't really go into enough detail, and they don't talk about it in terms of how our company is unique in the way that we behave. And so don't think in terms of those table stakes. Think in terms of your specific company's personality. And another thing you want to keep in mind is that just as your personality is unique and the personality of an individual is unique, so too a company personality is unique. And it is a reflection of the people in the company, specifically a reflection of the folks who either start the company or own the company or who are deeply committed to the company. So personality has a little more spice to it. It's more distinctive. It's something that sets you apart. It's something that's memorable to you and meaningful to you. It's something that gives you that sense of direction. And it helps you to understand how to build a company that's going to be successful. As I said earlier, it's something that you should be putting into your own words. And I'm going to give you some specific examples of that a little bit later. And it's vital that your personality and your purpose are aligned. Purpose answers the question, why do we exist? Personality answers the question, how do we behave? So having given you that introduction, again, the three things we're going to talk about here is number one, how to discover and clarify your company's unique personality, how to use that personality as a competitive advantage, and how personality works together with purpose to provide a solid foundation, a lasting foundation, and drive your company's ongoing success. So let's talk about how to discover and clarify your unique personality. And for this part of the podcast, I want to tip my hat again to Pat Lencioni and his book, The Advantage. Think about each aspect of your business. Think about the best person in the field, in the office, in your business development, and consider what makes them the best. What are their specific behaviors that are unique to them? How do they treat your clients? How do they interact with employees or project partners? Well, one of the cornerstones of my business is I shoot a lot of videos. And I work with this one company called Splashio that edits my videos. One thing I've noticed about them is that their customer service is absolutely excellent. I was talking to the founder of the company. His name is Gideon. I was asking him what drives that customer service. And basically what it is that Gideon is pretty driven and obsessed with taking care of his clients. It's just part of his personality. Not all business people are like that. And that personality is reflected in the way that they service their customers. And these ideas, this idea of personality, this idea of behavior, it's something that the folks that you're thinking about, they may not even be conscious of what they're doing. They just do it. And that's why this exercise is so important, because as you think through what it is that they actually do, you're on the path to codifying what those behaviors are in your business that make your business unique and drive your success. And the more specific you can be about the behavior, the more descriptive you can be, the better. Another way of looking at this is to take someone who is perhaps not with your organization anymore. They're technically sound, they may be even ethically sound, but they're really not a fit for your organization. What is it that characterizes them? I worked for a gentleman many years ago who is actually a very close friend of mine and a dear friend. I really like him a lot, and he's a great guy. And he's built two extremely successful businesses. But he is never on time. Never. He has never been on time to any meetings that I've ever had with him. And so think about that. If being on time is extremely important, this person, regardless of his talent, regardless of the fact that he's a person of integrity and a person who you would really like to hang out with, this person would not be a fit in your organization. And so that's another thing to look at. Look at the people who are the best fit for your company, both technically and behaviorally, and the people who are maybe technically a fit, but not behaviorally a fit. And compare and contrast the way that they show up and the way they behave, and think about how that can begin to influence the way you craft your personality statements. You're looking to state these things in your own language. Words like integrity, customer service, fairness, or whatever the case may be. What does that even mean? Describe it in terms of your own words, in terms of a behavior, and it really helps you to get to the root of the personality of your business that drives your success. Whatever you do, man, avoid corporate speak. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. Remember what we talked about. If you listen to episode 77, this idea of personality and purpose, it has nothing to do with marketing. It has nothing to do with looking good in other people's eyes. It has everything to do with understanding yourself. Because the more you understand why you do things and how you behave, and the more you align that with what you actually do, the more successful you will be and the happier you will be, not only as an individual, but as a company. We've covered how to define your personality. Let's look at how to use your personality as a competitive advantage. Think about the types of projects that you like to build. So you have a certain personality, a certain type of people in your organization that drives the types of projects you build. You're the type of person who loves to negotiate. It's part of your DNA. And you like to get stuck into complicated projects and negotiate the way that they're going to be built and the amount they're going to be built for. Or you're more comfortable in a hard bid environment, maybe in a public environment versus a private environment. Think about where you build. Maybe your personality drives you to want to work in an urban environment and be involved in large projects that are going to be clearly seen. As you cross the Bay Bridge going into San Francisco and one of your buildings is going up there and you can point and you can say, I built that. And you get a real kick out of that. And you can't necessarily explain it, but it's part of your personality. It's part of the personality of your organization. On the other hand, you may be perfectly content in a less dense environment. And you don't want to spend your life in the city. That's the personality of the people who are working in your organization. So you think about how your personality should drive your strategy. Think about it in terms of your internal setup, the people that you hire. And this is so fundamental. If you understand the personality of your company, you will begin to attract the right people and repel the wrong people. And you should be embedding personality questions into your interviewing process. Think about, again, the people in your organization that just aren't a personality or behavioral fit for your company. What makes them misaligned with your organization? Think about why you fire people. It's either because of incompetency, it's either because of a bad attitude, or it can be because of personality incompatibility. And what you should be driving towards as an owner of your company, as a member of the executive team, you should be driving towards having the most amount of people who line up with the personality of your company as possible. You should be weeding out the people who are not a personality fit. That can also drive who you do business with. I'll give you an example. I live in the capital of California, the world's 5th largest economy. There are a ton of state agencies in Sacramento who I could work with if I should so choose. But I don't work with them because my personality is kind of independent. I just love working with entrepreneurs. And I don't know about you guys, but I haven't found too many entrepreneurial type folks, business driven type folks who work for the state. Nothing against those folks. They have a role to play in our society, but they're not the types of people that I like to work with. And so I don't do business with any of the state agencies in my area. So I hope you get that idea there, is that understanding your personality can really set you apart in terms of your strategy, who works for you, who you choose to work with. So we've talked about how to discover and clarify your unique personality, and we've also covered how to use your personality as a competitive advantage. Finally, let's cover how personality works together with purpose to provide a solid foundation and drive your success. The purpose of your business is why you exist, that deep reason why you exist. And when personality and purpose are aligned, it's like the old story about the house that's built on the sand versus the house that's built on the rock. Companies who don't understand their purpose or their personality, or who understand them but don't live according to them, are like folks who have no solid foundation. They're built on the sand. And when the storms of business come, that's when their companies are chaotic. That's when they're out of control. That's when they can't sustain success over a long period of time. But the people who understand their deeper purpose, the companies who understand their personality, how they behave, those are the ones that have that solid foundation. And when the storms come, they're able to withstand those storms and even thrive in the midst of them. Purpose and personality are the bedrock of a successful company. They determine everything that you do from a planning and execution perspective, which is what we're going to which is what we're going to cover in the next 2 episodes of this series. So if you're clear on your purpose and personality, you can use those as filters when you're looking at opportunities, when you're hiring people, when you're building the policies and procedures. You can ask yourself this question: does this further the purpose of our company? Does it give us the opportunity to fulfill our purpose? Is it in alignment with our personality? And let me encourage you, don't be afraid of going deep and understanding your purpose and understanding your personality and building your business around those 2 things. Because the combination of that purpose and personality make each company truly unique and give you an opportunity for differentiation. And maybe you've tried this before. Maybe you've gotten together with your executives. You even brought someone in from the outside and done things like, figured out your value statements, and you might even put them on a wall somewhere or on your website. And perhaps you haven't lived according to them, or it's just kind of fake and it hasn't felt. Don't let that discourage you. So I'd like to give you some examples from a fire protection subcontractor. Their purpose statement is building lives by saving lives. Now, let me give you what they came up with in terms of their personality. First statement is this: take nothing for granted. This is all about how they behave. The second one is delayed gratification. And the third is earn everything. Think about that for a moment. So their purpose is building lives by saving lives. Their personality is take nothing for granted, delayed gratification, earn everything. So think about how you can take those 3 statements there about their personality. Think about how those can impact the way they run their company, who they hire, who they fire, the people that they choose to do work for, how they do work. Think about how it drives their people and their processes and their services. You get a sense of how that clear purpose and personality impacts choice and behavior. Let me give you another example. This is from a framing subcontractor. They do more than just framing, but that's the core of their business. Their purpose is we build to provide and endure. Their personality is stated like this: the courage to break molds and eliminate excuses, the discipline to kick ass, the wisdom to stay humble together. Now just reflect on that for a moment. That may appeal to you, it may not, but I can tell you it is a true reflection of the core of their organization and why they have been successful. And in fact, Vance Lancaster, he's the VP of Lancaster-Burns. This is the framing contractor. This is what he says about the triangle planning process, where he and his group are able to identify their purpose and their personality. He said, "You helped us understand what our purpose, personality, plan, and priority is. We probably had an opportunity to do this 10 years ago, but we didn't take it. I can't imagine how much further along we'd be if we had. It's now a tool we use in every personnel review, conversation, quarterly meeting, and interview. It's a foundation of what this organization is about, and we use it to help everyone understand that. Clients come in and we use this triangle to help them understand what type of a contractor we are." So we began this by discussing the definition of personality and making that distinction between values and personality. Then we've talked about how to discover and clarify your unique personality, how to use your personality as a competitive advantage, And then finally, how personality works together with purpose to provide a solid foundation for your company. Each individual has a unique personality. Think about when you've taken a personality test, maybe like the DISC. The one I like to use with my clients is called the Profile XT. And you've had some insight into yourself, and you begin to understand yourself more. And perhaps you've even taken one or two of those things and leveraged it personally to help you to be more successful. Take the opportunity to do the same for your business. Sit down with the core folks in your organization, define your personality. So, next steps: set aside a meeting where you take time to define your personality. Okay. Make sure that you think about people who are a tremendous fit in your organization and ask yourself, how is it that they behave? Define it in your own words. Think about someone who's technically a good person, perhaps, but not a fit in terms of their personality for your organization, and compare and contrast those types of people. And get yourself a list of characteristics and qualities that define the best in your organization, and try and synthesize that into some clear personality statements like I shared with you earlier. And then communicate your personality to people, particularly internally, so that they understand this is how we show up. Begin to use it to build your processes. Think about it in terms of your strategic plan and aligning your personality with your strategic plan, and use it to make decisions in your organization. Really appreciate you listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found it helpful. Again, this is part 2 of a 4-part series looking at that one-page triangle planning process. So look for the episodes in the coming weeks where we're going to talk about plan and then priority. And my whole goal with this 4-part series is to teach you how to build a simple one-page plan that you can use again and again to drive the success of your organization. I've had people reaching out to me on LinkedIn and other places thanking me for the podcast, and I want to thank you for taking time to listen to this show. If you found it helpful, you know what would be really helpful to me is if you went out to Apple or wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating. The more reviews we get, the more Construction Genius gets out to folks. It gets seen on the interwebs. And so that'd be really cool if you could do that. Also, if you have any questions regarding this content that I'm sharing with you, reach out to me. I will respond to you within 24 hours. One of my core values is the client, the client, the client. I want to take care of my clients. So feel free to reach out to me if you have a question. I'm happy to respond. You can do that on LinkedIn. I'm there at Eric Anderton. Or you can go to my website, ericanderton.com. Go to the Contact Me page, put in your details. I'll get back to you. Again, thanks for listening to Construction Genius today. Have a terrific week. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership.